It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
All right, SKOR North Twin Show extra innings. Not only are the Twins forgetting things at the plate, Judd forgot his headphones. So we're going one mic, one shot type of setup.
What can I say? A fundamental mistake. A Manny Margot type mistake by me tonight.
Oh, wow. Drop the ball?
I did drop the ball.
Dropped the ball?
Headphones. I didn't bring the headphones. I dropped the ball.
Oh, my gosh. What's going on, everyone? SKOR North extra innings. Declan Goff, Judd Zulgad here live from Target Field. I typically don't do post-game, night game press podcasts, mostly because, I'm here for a long time. It gets late. But when you get swept by the Braves and your season now is kind of crumbling, and I think Rocco used the best type of word, Judd, it was we need to wake up. You need to wake the bleep up here.
Yep.
They've been a streaky team all season.
Yep.
But 8 of their last 10, I believe 9 of their last 23 games, 22 games,
Yep.
they only have 9 wins in that stretch. Yes, the AL is still bad, but I kind of feel like this is actually more frustrating than the 7-13 start they got off to. And we've seen some other bad stretches. They had the losing streaks to Cleveland. They had the losing streak in New York and Pittsburgh.
Sure.
But when it's August 28th, we're almost in September, we're in crunch time here. I think the pressure and that choke grip that they basically have on their own necks right now feels a lot tighter than it has in previous stretches of this season.
I think the frustrating thing about this is, first of all, yes, Ryan is out. That hurts. Correa is out. That really hurts. Buxton is out. It hurts. It happens a lot. But I think the most frustrating thing about this stretch of baseball, Dex, has been watching in the last 9 of 10. What's frustrating is watching this team melt down and make mental mistakes, make physical mistakes, make mistakes on the bases. And it's a variety of characters. Baldelli can be directly linked to about 3 of the defeats because of his decisions. The last 2 nights, you've cost yourself runs on the bases. And tonight, and Baldelli defended him, but Tommy Watkins waved home Margot after he thought it was a line drive might be cut, so he basically didn't get a jump. Then he looked back, and then you could tell as he rounded third, he expected to be held up, and he wasn't held up. And then, as happens in a situation like this, a couple of batters after, there's a single that would have given you a 2-1 lead, and I know that ultimately that would not have won the game, but it certainly would have put a different tenor on the game. Then you go to the Margot drop, and that was awarded as a double. I'm sorry, that's an error. Come on, Stu. That's an error. Like, the man took what I would call a circuitous route to a baseball, and the trouble with him in left at target field, especially, I think continues because I don't know what the hell that was, but this is a team that can't afford to play dumb games, right? Yeah. Like when you are without what they're without, you have to play really good playoff baseball, smart baseball. And I think it's very safe to say that starting with a loss to the Rangers a week ago Sunday now, this team has played a lot of just really fundamentally flawed baseball. And we talked to Plouffe about this on the Tuesday show, and he's like, you can't do that. Like, if you're going to be a playoff team, you can't. So I think what Baldelli isn't saying, but it comes through in his words, sort of, and his demeanor. I think there's a lot of frustration with watching this team continually shoot itself in the foot.
Yeah.
And if you do that against the Braves, who, by the way, also without a ton of good players, but if you do that against the Braves, you are going to lose. Now, can you do it against the Blue Jays and win? Perhaps. I don't know. But, it is really frustrating to watch this because it feels like it's coming apart, and I don't know that they know how to necessarily stop it, but quit being dumb. That would help out. And don't wave guys home when it's clear you shouldn't wave them home. I'm sorry, that was a horrible send, I thought, by Tommy Watkins.
Yeah, it was a weird send. It's been a weird kind of last few games for Tommy over there, whether his faults or non-faults. It's one thing, I think, to lose games. I'm going to use a trademark here in Pagan fashion. I hate to be the Emilio Pagan trademarker, but
sure.
If you're going to have some Pagan games that absolutely blow up in one guy's face, which happened to Emilio Pagan a lot, and that's why I'm using him as an unfortunate trademark, those are one ways to lose. The Jorge Alcala game in Texas, that stinks, but it shouldn't snowball into something.
Right.
It has felt like that has snowballed into something.
Right.
From bullpen decision-making, which has been questionable, to just ineffectiveness in the bullpen. And then to your point, and I think even if a baseball purist happened to stumble into Twins games over the last week, I think they would turn it off. Like it's weird fundamental things, getting thrown out when you shouldn't be sending someone, balls getting through the infield, not covering a bag, not throwing over to first, balls going off a glove, not being where you should be. Those are the things that I think are incredibly concerning, because I agree with Rocco. It has been streaky at times this year. Yeah. They get off to a poor start because it's the beginning of a baseball season and it's really cold in Minneapolis. And for whatever reason, we're playing 16 home games in April here in Minneapolis, which is probably foolish. Mm-hmm. But the way they've been losing games, yeah, it's concerning. There's 29 games left. I believe this was 30 left after going into today. And yes, the state of the American League is putrid, but Kansas City's now hot. Forget about Cleveland falling off. I know Cleveland had an epic comeback today to beat the Royals and salvage one of those games in that series. But KC is saying, no, bleep this. We'll take it and run away with it after the Twins basically kicked their ass, 2 weekends ago here? Yep. And now the Twins find themselves basically shrugging emoji shoulders and head down bad news Bears. And I think that's what's obviously alarming with the playoffs, but basically a month away.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch. And look, I mean, again, Rocco is not going to publicly really dump on his team, but you could tell by his tone at times. And like, I felt his tone last night was more frustrated. I feel like this is, let's fix the bleeping problem.
Yeah.
And look, I understand there's going to be periods of decline at times. There's going to be periods, I mean, it is a long year. But that being said, I have found in the past 2 weeks or so, my real problem is you're getting performances that demand wins. For instance, David Festa tonight, okay? Mm-hmm. Chris Sale, Festa. That's a big ask. You know, Chris Sale's had a great year, comes in with a 14-3 record, probably more importantly, a 2.62 ERA. He goes 6, gives up 6 hits, a run. Now, what's really frustrating with the bats is in the bottom of the fourth, you get a single from Margot, a double from Jeffers, so nobody out, right? Second and third. Miranda strikes out. Okay, Carlos Santana draws a walk. So now 1 out, bases are juiced, and you have a chance to break the game open. Castro strikes out. Vasquez grounds out to short, and we go on. But Festa, 6 innings, 2 hits, a run, a walk, which did prove to be a bad walk, but it's 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. I feel like when you get that effort from a guy who is basically, we thought, okay, at best he has to be like the 4 or 5 guy. And tonight he pitched like a 3.
Yeah.
You need to win. You need to win these games. Like, these are the type of games that if you have any aspirations of like being taken seriously for a playoff team, David Festa gave you a start tonight. And I think that you said this when we did a post-game show on Sunday about, what was it, Zebby who started that game?
Yeah, I think so.
And you said at the time, we should be talking about his start. Like, not all the... Well, tonight we should be talking about Festa. Oh, my God. Right. He pitched lights out against Sale. What a performance. And instead, we're talking about dumb mistakes, dumb sends, and that's too bad because I don't see how you can be taken seriously even if you make the playoffs when we are now talking about things that should be cleaned up.
What's remarkable is we've made this huge deal about when Joe Ryan went down with the injury of can this starting pitching survive with rookies and inexperienced dudes. And I mean, I asked Rocco point blank today, which you can find in another Extra Innings episode, about is there innings limits on these guys? I know you have to throw them because you're out of options, literally. But is there innings limits? Because Simeon Woods is 15 innings past his career high. Bailey Ober's 2 innings away. Jorge Alcala hasn't thrown this much in 3 years. David Festa's knocking on the door of his career high. Mm-hmm. And it seems like ever since the Ryan injury, the Twins have mostly gotten, I know Bailey Ober got tattooed on Monday in a weird rain-soaked game, but It feels like the starting pitching and especially the rookie collection of Simeon, Festa, Zebby Matthews, Louis Varland when called upon, who pitched well tonight again for the Saints, those guys have actually delivered. Like, I don't think you could really ask any more of their performances over the last 2 weeks. What has absolutely killed the Twins and why they find themselves in this situation is dumb baseball mistakes, and to be honest, relying on a lineup that is without 2 of your, well, tonight, all 3 of your best players. Royce Lewis got the day off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard, in my opinion, to look up and down that lineup 1 through 9, and you have Chris Sale, who might win the damn Cy Young after barely not pitching over the last few years.
Right.
And for that collection to come out here and still have a chance to win, like they had Sale on the ropes in the 6th, 5th, and 6th.
Exactly.
And it's not a starting pitching rookie problem. It's a collective Twins veteran problem that they just can't seem to get out of their own way.
Right, exactly. Because the problem. So I agree completely. All of what you said is true, which is why you can't make mistakes. And like you might be like, well, come on, Judd, teams are going to make mistakes. Yeah, they are going to make some. But if you look at the collection of mistakes and at times, certainly in a few of the earlier defeats a week ago, mismanagement of the bullpen, like those are the things you can't afford. Because like you don't have, there's no, like I look at this lineup, I look at it, there's no wiggle room here.
Right.
Like there's no, well, if you screw this up on the bases, like, you know, Baldelli, I'm not surprised, defended Tommy Watkins post game. I get that.
Yeah.
But like you can't afford to have that. Like
That's
the
a bad
second
sense.
he hesitates, and by the way, he also looked back.
Yeah.
And I think he expected to not go. You have to be like, okay, screw it. Like I'm not going to run you into an out, which is it's you know, he didn't reach the plate. So I'm with you. You don't have enough talent in the lineup, and you don't have and you're asking these young pitchers. Hey, you got to do, David Festa, can you pitch against Sale? He's like, oh, hell yeah. And he comes out and does that, gives up a solo home run in the first, which I say, who cares? That's going to happen. But that's exactly why we can't be talking about base running miscues.
Right.
That's why we can't be talking about sending guys at the wrong time. That's why we cannot be talking about the ball going off Margot's glove after he takes a route that looked like Cordell Patterson's routes when he played for the Vikings. Like, these are all of the things, because I'm with you. When Correa and Buxton, and in this case Royce, are not playing, you don't have the ability to say, well, we'll make
outwork
up
'em.
We'll make up for that with a 3-run homer off Chris Sale. You had your chance. Bases loaded, 1 out. Okay, that's too bad. But that's also a product of the fact that your point is they just don't have all of their talent. But I can now say, okay, that's okay. What's not okay is that you then screwed yourself. And they did. Like, if you collectively look, the last 2 nights, they have cost themselves absolutely key runs. The Kepler thing, where Watkins might have screwed up, but as
That's
we
on
all
Max.
agree, Max didn't exactly run. And perhaps Max shouldn't have been playing. That's a different story. But that cost him a run, for sure. And the Margot decision cost them a run. And you cannot give up runs. And I told you this a couple days ago too, Dex. If this is what you're going to do in a playoff series or game, you're going to kill yourself instantly.
Yeah.
Like there's no,
death.
hey, let's go back and talk about what Tommy Watkins was doing in October. I'm sorry. That's not, like, that is what is killing this team.
Yeah, if maybe this is a good topic for when we have Mackey on. I don't know if we'll actually have a Twins episode tomorrow with Mackey. We have a little bit of some schedule conflicts tomorrow, so we'll see. We'll have one for sure on Friday. Twins are off tomorrow, but it feels like if I were to construct a pie chart of blame,
Yeah.
maybe for the last 21, 22 games, I don't know that I put much of any of it on ineffective starting pitching, which was the biggest fear of who's going to start game
Yeah.
3. That was our big talker 2 weeks ago. Who's going to start game 3? Who's going to start game 3? The pie chart of blame starts with maybe the manager first and the players. Like, I could
Well,
probably flip-flop.
And either Falvey or Joe
Also
Polad.
true. Yeah.
Because the bullpen, you just waived, you DFA'd the one guy that you supposedly picked up to help you. You know what we should be talking about right now is, can, like, Festa's performance tonight be repeated continually in a race, right?
Yeah.
Like, that should be the concern. And yes, there have been bad starts, but that's not the primary thing. The primary thing is that you are, I don't know what you're doing. I honestly don't know. This is why a year ago, when the Twins were, because a year ago the Central was so bad.
Yeah.
When I called for Baldelli's job in July, I believe it was, early July of last year, this is because they were pulling these stunts.
Right.
And I don't know what it is. Like, what are you doing? You're professionals. Like, somebody has to have control here. And that's not a Correa problem. That's a problem of what are we doing? But yeah, there is, the pie chart of blame would be, you actually should do one. It would be, because it would be ownership. I think Falvey's got to take some blame here.
sure.
I'm not going to just allow him off the hook completely. But Rocco, Like, there's a lot of things here. And it's just a shame, again, to come back to, you got through that rocky start. Mm-hmm. You played, you were streaky, but you played a lot of good baseball. Like, your record was really good. And now, when you get teams like, the Braves, I mean, the Cardinals, I'm sorry, they're not good. No, they're not drawing. There's like 12 people now in the greatest baseball town, they'll tell you that, in the entire world. So it is very confusing. And for Twins fans, I think, if our Twitter accounts are any indication, absolutely maddening. And I don't blame fans. And the real problem is they are like, for a playoff team right now, it feels like they are very close to essentially losing people completely.
Right.
Because they're like, this is not worth watching.
Yeah, this season got off to that sour start because of and forget the 7-13 start, just of the lack of spending, the lack of aggressiveness after their most successful season in 20 plus years. And if there were to be a epic collapse here, and the Twins might just find themselves sliding down and still being in the playoff race, given how bad the state of the AL is. And I know the Red Sox won again today, so it's not like the Twins.
The Central's actually great.
The Central's great. The rest of the American League is kind of putrid.
Yeah, Boston's won 2 now.
So if that's the case, if there's a situation where they don't end up making the playoffs, well, we have some big. I mean, fans aren't going to be coming here. Like, if the playoffs started tomorrow, do I think it'll still sell out and be close to what it was in Toronto? Sure, it's baseball playoffs. There's a heightened excitement about that.
Right.
But man, if there is a catastrophic fall from grace here, forget about not being in first place, but being in firm condition of a playoff spot, regardless of not being in first place, there is heads have to roll. Like, there has to be people held accountable. That's a lost season, and that's a complete kick in the groin to not just yourselves, but your fan base too.
It's a really interesting point because I don't disagree completely, but the problem is it starts at the very top.
Yeah.
So, like, the poll ads have to look at themselves and say, we did not go out and get any help. Like, you didn't. You got no help. And I understand that the payroll, the opening day, 2023 to 24, I think was down $35 million. I understand that, and that's not good. I'm not excusing that at all. But then at the deadline, when you're in it, I think you've got to say, hold on a second here. We want butts and seats. And look, folks, the Cardinals, during the 3 games over the weekend, drew great. A ton of Cardinals fans. Tonight's crowd for the Atlanta Braves was awful.
Yeah, it was the weakest crowd so far.
They announced 19,000, and I don't even know that there were 19 here. So, like, there are consequences for what they have not done. But it would be interesting if the Twins tried to pin the blame on certain people, because while they might deserve it, it starts at the top.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely starts at the top. And you did not have, because of the fact that you cut payroll, you didn't have and you didn't address the extra starting pitching. And like you said, that has not been a huge problem, but what has been is the bullpen. Mm-hmm. And the bullpen's imploding right now.
Yeah,
it really feels like it's imploding. I mean, who do you trust? Cole Sands right now?
Jax.
And Jax for sure. Jax has been a stud. I mean, Duran, I said on Sunday, I don't blame him. He got screwed by Julian. I'm sorry, last night he got hit. Yeah. Duran screwed Duran.
Yeah.
He got hit hard. So, yeah, the frustration is it feels like it would be palpable if more people cared.
Yeah. Maybe a pie chart. We'll talk to the Macadeck. Maybe we can see if we can squeeze that in tomorrow or something. Or regardless, happens Friday. But
I got Viking stuff tomorrow.
We got Viking stuff tomorrow.
Vikings are starting.
Thursday, we got a scoop session with Duke. So we got plenty of stuff coming at you. Hit the like button, subscribe button. This is the SKOR North Twin Show. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. We got almost 200 people watching us vent and complain about the Twins. We probably feel the same angst and vibes that you have. So appreciate everyone that's listened and watched. Go check out our episodes too every Tuesday with Trevor Plouffe. A lot of great stuff here on the SKOR North Twin Show. Appreciate everyone listening and watching. Off day, much deserved off day tomorrow, and then Toronto.
For you or the Twins?
I think for everyone.
Twins deserve a day off. They just need one to. The good thing is the Blue Jays aren't that good.
No, that'll help. The drunks will come in. The Toronto and drunks in a good way.
I forgot.
Yeah,
it's a holiday weekend down here.
It's a holiday weekend. Yeah.
now. So like that's going to be there's going to be a lot of Labatt's that crosses the border from Manitoba to here.
I love my Podrick's. Podrick's is a great sponsor of SKOR North, but yeah, there's some great some great
There's
Pilsners
some
coming down.
Molsons and stuff like
A lot
that.
of good stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe button. This is SKOR North Extra Innings. We'll be back at you soon.